Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Decoding Business Growth Season 2. I am your host A.B. Ravi. Once upon a time, an entrepreneur built his business on gut instinct and homegrown market intelligence. And he moved on. For in a cocoon economy where the competition was limited, you sold what you made and everybody more than survived. But all that has changed in a digitally interconnected world of the 21st century. The competition is fierce and you have mountains and mountains of information pouring in every minute. In IT terminology, they call it zettabytes of data. It is mind-blowing. For instance, Amazon.com handles millions of back-end operations every day, as well as queries from more than 500,000 third-party sellers, while Walmart handles more than 1 million customer transactions every hour. Multiply these data by million times, and that's the kind of information that is being created every day on planet Earth. So how do you make sense, or shall I say, make business sense out of this huge data? Well, a Mumbai-based company, Fractal Analytics, shows you the way. This company, the brainchild of Shrikant Velamakani and Pranay Agarwal, computationally crunch this complex data. To use the IT jargon, big data is the use of predictive analytics on large data set to reveal patterns, trends, human behavior so as to predict your future course of action. Take a look at Fractal Analytics story and you will realize that the secret sauce to success is that you help others grow their business and in the process help yourself.
What is common between P&G, Visa, Kimberly-Clark and Franklin Templeton? Well, they are all Fortune 500 companies that have understood the competitive advantage analytics gives them to understand consumers and make better business decisions. Well, helping these global giants take that better business decision every day is the Mumbai-based Fractal Analytics, founded by B-School friends Shrikant Velamakani, Pranay Agrawal and 3 others. Their company computationally crunches large complex data, popularly known as big data. To the uninitiated, big data means the use of predictive analysis on large data sets to reveal patterns, trends, human behavior, so as to predict the future course of action. And Fractal Analytics seems to have excelled on all these fronts for its clients, ranging from FMCG players to retail giants, mutual funds and credit card companies. For each of them, it helps them understand, predict and influence consumer behavior, while at the same time, it also helps them to improve marketing, pricing, supply chain and risk management. Besides, Fractal also builds analytics solutions and forecasts business performance. For mastering this art and science of predictive analytics, it has been named as one of the top 5 cool vendors in analytics by Gartner.
In 1998 and 1999, my colleague and co-founder Pranay and I were working at ANZ and ICICI on structured debt. We really enjoyed what we were doing. We were using some very cool math to drive higher profitability across deals for ICICI and ANZ. But this was not very meaningful. We realized that the potential for math in business was much bigger, especially if we could leverage the data that companies are collecting and build algorithms on that data. We could support much better decision making. We realized that this industry was going to be very new and we didn't really have a business model, considering there was no other company of our kind in anywhere in the world. We started the business and fortunately for us, we saw ICICI, Citibank, Unilever trusting us.
Well, being ahead of the curve has paid off handsomely. Fractal is now churning out algorithms and other data analytic tools for marquee clients like P&G, Philips, Kimberly-Clark, Visa and Franklin Templeton. But these blue chip clients did not fall into its lap overnight. It was an arduous journey. In fact, the seeds of this business were sown when 5 college friends were studying at IIM Ahmedabad. Driven by this passion to do something different, these 5, on completing their MBA, met on 2nd January 2000 at Velamakani's one-bedroom apartment located in Andheri in the western suburbs of Mumbai. Very quickly, they decided their course of action by pooling in 2 lakh rupees each, and thus began their odyssey in the world of business. It was tough going. There were no takers for their ideas. Perhaps they were ahead of the curve, but they persisted with their ideas and it bore fruit. In 2001, the company bagged its first project from ICICI Bank, where Velamakani and Agrawal were working. The bank asked the company to build statistical consumer credit risk scorecards, and using mathematical models, Fractal cracked it. Impressed by their business model, Gulu Mirchandani of Onida TV fame stepped in as an angel investor by writing a check of $6 lakh. After that, there was no looking back. In 2002, Velamakani accidentally ran into S.N. Prasad, a senior business leader at Visa International. He buttonholed Prasad, who gave him a small assignment worth just $2,500 to test them out. Impressed by the results, Visa gave them another project worth $35,000, and soon it became a $1 million client for Fractal. By 2007, it had established offices in Singapore and the US, and revenues had touched the $4 million mark. Looking at this growth trajectory, the 5 founders decided to put in place a formal organization structure. To select the CEO, they opted for a voting process among them. Velamakani won the CEO's post, but this decision did not go well with the other 2 founders. They walked out. This dissension did impact the company's revenue to a certain extent. But since both Velamakani and Agrawal were the pioneers of analytics, things soon started looking up. In 2008, the duo bagged the prestigious assignment of P&G after 2 years of hard selling.
8 to 10 years back, P&G launched this initiative to be one of the most analytically competitive companies in the world. We had already been working with P&G for a few years, and they had a fairly good sense of our capabilities and the quality of work that they delivered, that we delivered, and they went through a extensive evaluation process. It was a competitive process, and they chose us as one of the partners to be on this journey with them. And it's been about 8 years now, and it's been a phenomenal partnership.
Getting P&G's assignment proved to be a game changer for Fractal Analytics. Many prestigious clients followed P&G. Today, it has grown to at least 10 times on all parameters when compared to 2008. And this is born from the fact that over 50 of its clients are part of the Fortune 500 list. Fractal has indeed arrived. Through its 13 offices located in the US, London, Mumbai, New Delhi, Singapore and Dubai, and staff strength of 900 people, the company services clients in 100 countries. Well, what sets Fractal apart is that it values human resources. Perhaps it is the only company in India which allows employees to choose their own boss, set their own targets, and then self-determine their goal achievement percentage, which is the basis of their salary increments and variable pay. By adopting this method, it is ensured that there is no chemistry issue in the organization.
So one of our basic thought processes is that we want to help every person at Fractal maximize their potential. And we believe that people can maximize their potential, one, if they're working on their strengths and doing things that they're good at and they enjoy doing, and two, if they are gelling well with the team that they're working with and they're constantly learning from the team and they're able to contribute back to the learning of the rest of the team. So the whole initiative around being able to choose the project that you're in or the team that you can work with has been, founded in that belief.
The other best practices it has put in place is not disturbing their employees while they are on holidays. The company certainly seems to be in the race to bag the Best Place to Work award. On that note, it's time for a small break. At the other end of the break, CNBC TV18's A.B. Ravi speaks to Rahul Tiwari of ICICI Securities to decode Fractal Analytics success mantras. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Velamakkanni and Agrawal's bet on big data at a time when it was an unheard of commodity speaks volumes of their vision. To decipher what worked well for Fractal, CNBC TV18's A.B. Ravi caught up with Rahul Tiwari of ICICI Securities. This is what Rahul has to say. Take a look.
Rahul, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Rahul, if I begin by asking you, the big data analytical industry was non-existent a few years back. Before it came into being, FMCG depended on market research agency or gut instinct to take informed decisions. But today, most companies across the globe look for its assistance to take strategic business decisions. It has become an important management tool. So is it here to stay? What's your comment on that?
So I think data has always been part of decision making.
Yeah.
But I think what has happened in the last couple of years or last few years is the explosion of data that we are experiencing.
Right.
Both the generation and the consumption of data. And that has kind of changed the dynamics completely. Look at a large FMCG company, global FMCG company. It's got billions of touch points with its customers and is generating terabytes of data on a daily basis. Now the companies and their boards are challenged with how to treat this data for actionable insights.
Okay, yeah.
And I think what is also happening in a favorable way is the entire infrastructure on data has become very favorable.
True.
You have data storage cost that's come down dramatically.
Yeah.
There are open source software frameworks that have emerged, and companies have taken advantage of that. If you look at Google or Facebook, I mean, they have demonstrated the power of data.
True.
And
exactly, yeah.
the company boards are clearly looking to get a strategic advantage. Research after research is proving that companies that use data are at the top quartile of in terms of their performance.
Yeah.
And so the management teams are very motivated. They know the data is there. They want somebody to slice and dice this for them.
Okay.
And the growing realization is that you need best of the breed solution providers to enable that. You cannot do that
on your own. Okay, let me come to while we're on big data. What is your take on Fractal Analytics? Were they ahead of the curve in setting up this company?
I think they have been pioneers. I mean, both Shrikant and Pranay have been trailblazers in the industry. But I think what is more important is how, over the years they have stayed on the cutting edge of innovation. I mean, today the company is ahead of the pack when it comes to, just looking at, what is advanced analytics. They are thought leaders. They're very deep in terms of, their technology, the tools that they have created, the proprietary algorithms that they have, the way they have productized their services. And I think that is something which, is very differentiated about them.
Okay.
So I think the management team stays very committed, very passionate about this business, and the business model itself is based on intellectual property, which is very difficult to replicate.
But at one level, it is a commoditized business. Big data is available for all of us. So what is the cutting edge Fractal has over its competitors or its peer groups?
So if you really look at the bottom of the pyramid in terms of the value add, if you look at the descriptive or basically diagnostic end of analytics, people are just cleaning the data and basically presenting dashboards to management teams. I think that all is commoditized. I think we all agree, right?
Yeah,
it's when it comes to predictive or prescriptive analytics, that is where you need very advanced analytical skills, such as artificial intelligence, machine learning. These are data science technologies which are very difficult to bring in-house. And that's where I think Fractal has differentiated, because they hire the best talent, the smartest guys out there. They really invest in having an IP that they can take to their clients and monetize. And that's why the clients love them. And on top of that, they have focused on a couple of domains where they have a competitive edge in terms of how deep their domain knowledge is.
Okay, now the other unusual thing I found about this company is employees are allowed to choose their own boss and thereby set up their own target. So in a way, it solves their chemistry problem. So do you think the attrition rate is coming down because of this and they're able to retain employees?
So I think they are non-traditional in terms of their human resource practices, and one would expect that from a cutting edge company like Fractal. I mean, if you bring in people and put them in silos, or you set up a hierarchy, innovation suffers.
Yeah.
So the innovation culture is very important. And for some of the, smart guys, they really care about, belonging to a place that, fosters this kind of innovation.
So how do you view the funding strategy?
So the fundraising is purely for growth.
Yeah.
If you really look at it. I mean, it's a profitable company. They don't really, need to, take in capital for operating purposes.
Yeah.
So they're really investing in the future. And I think aligning themselves with a fund like Khazana is a brilliant strategy for them, because it gives them the firepower to go after acquisitions, for example.
Okay.
And they also align themselves with a global fund that they can leverage for their expertise, for their relationships. So I think their story has become far more interesting after this fundraise. So they are able to invest in their IP, they're able to invest in their sales and marketing efforts, and look at inorganic growth. So I think the growth story will become more diversified. It'll accelerate their growth trajectory even more.
So one final question. This is an unlisted company. If and when they go for listing, what would you advise it to be for the investors?
I think the public market investors are looking for a couple of things. What they're looking for growth,
yeah,
right? And we see, them being challenged about, investing in growth companies. So, growth is one. The other one is profitability.
Yeah.
And then people are looking for, some really differentiation, that kind of, creates a sustainable advantage in the market. And I think Fractal's got all three of them currently. And I think they'll become even more interesting with the coming years.
Rahul, very well put. Thanks for being on the show. It's a pleasure talking to you. Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Well, that was Rahul analytically explaining how Fractal Analytics has emerged a winner. On that note, it's time for another short break. When we come back, we look at the road ahead for Fractal Analytics. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Taking cues from the disruption caused by the analytics industry and Fractal's top line growing at a CAGR of 37% over the past 6 years has got many private equity players interested in the company. The result? TA Associates invested $25 million in 2013, while AIMIA did strategic investments in 2014. And recently, Fractal raised $100 million from Malaysia's Khazana Nasional Berhad.
Invest in Fractal was a combination of things. So we were very bullish on what was happening in the analytics space in general. We were seeing a lot of the large companies finally figuring out that they need to do what they have with the data that they have in their domain, and essentially use that to drive a lot of the business decisions. And they need hand-holding in that journey. So companies like Fractal really enable them to take that path, benefit from the data that they have. And that's where we thought that it was an important tailwind in the industry which we could capitalize on. The other aspect why we invested was really the company itself. Fractal as an organization has an unwavering sort of focus on its clients, and they work with large corporates, many of them even Fortune 500 companies. These are demanding clients, and their ability to work with these companies to the standard that they expect, I think, got us really excited. There are multiple aspects to their business. So they hire the best talent in the market. They are good at retaining talent and ensuring employee satisfaction. They invest a lot in R&D, especially around technology, software and tools, which can help them do the task a lot better. So combination of these things got us really excited.
With a huge war chest, Fractal went in for acquisitions and strategic tie-ups. In 2015, it acquired 2 companies. The first was Mobius Innovations, a mobile-based context-aware big data startup based in Singapore in January 2015. The second one was in October last year when it bought Imagna Analytics, an artificial intelligence firm that decodes customer behavior and delivers contextually relevant offers in real time. These acquisitions are helping Fractal to strengthen its IPs in the area of customer genomics. Apart from concentrating on big data, it is also moving its focus towards small data. And for that, it has entered into an innovative partnership with Martin Lindstrom to connect big and small data.
Martin Lindstrom is a brand consultant, a thought leader, and an established author. In his recent book, Small Data, he talks about how he does this thing. he actually spends time in consumers' homes understanding what makes them tick, how they live their lives, so that he can help marketeers market to them better. He designs branding strategies and marketing strategies based on these kinds of clues that he uncovers. Typically, he spends time at 20 to 30 different consumers' homes, and sometimes even less. So it's really small sample size from the point of view of big data, right? Only 20 to 30 sample points on which he makes conclusions that helps companies spend millions, if not billions of dollars in advertising and marketing. Seeming contradiction with big data, because big data is all about really large data sets that you mine to get insights. But there is a connection. And that connection is that even though we have large amounts of data, sometimes we don't know what to look for in the data. When we have hypotheses and examples coming from small data, it helps us look for the right kind of things in big data. That's how there is a connection.
Well, apart from venturing into new areas, it is also strengthening its position in the analytics industry through breakthrough innovation, leveraging unstructured data, increasing contextual relevance, exploring artificial intelligence, and building a data-driven culture.
Our mission is to transform the way the world makes decisions. My dream is a world where every decision is supplemented by data-driven insights. In that world, Fractal will play a very important role. In the next 5 years, I want to make sure that Fractal is 10x in its size in terms of revenues, with driving 50% of its revenues through products, and much more global in its outlook.
According to various studies, by 2020, the world would generate around 40 zettabytes of data. That's a huge number, throwing up billion-dollar opportunities for those in the business of analytics. And in the case of Fractal Analytics, one can safely predict that the best years are ahead.
Well, it is a different kind of success story. What impresses me about Fractal is that the founders have allowed every employee to choose their own boss and set their own targets. Essentially, the founders have been fostering intrapreneurship. Also, the promoters' sensitivity of not disturbing their employees while on holiday is a welcome relief in today's WhatsApp world. On that note, it is time to say goodbye. See you next week with another interesting episode. Till then, keep watching CNBC TV 18.